I know, it's getting harder for some of you to wake up and start your morning. You know what needs to be done today, but there is no fire in your belly driving you to do it. Why were you playing games on your phone instead of getting this done? Today, just like yesterday, you are feeling sick and guilty because you let yourself down and didn't live up to your potential. Tomorrow, it doesn't have to be that way though. Stick with me to the end of this video and I'll give you the knowledge and tools to break out this cycle to get rid of those painful feelings. I'm Marina Morgan, an entrepreneur and the founder of the boutique organizational psychology agency in Silicon Valley, The Morgan Impact. On this channel, we discuss the most relevant knowledges and practices that help me and my client build resilience and grow their businesses even in the most challenging and unpredictable times. The purpose of this channel is healthy productivity. The way we get there is a sustainable, gradual growth of skills. Your brain is an organ, and you train it like a muscle. Life would be so much easier if I could sentence you to two 12-hour shifts at the gym this weekend and you would wake up jacked on Monday morning. Unfortunately, it doesn't work this way. Growth comes from consistency and repetitions over time. In your brain's case, we train those repetitions to become an automatic function. My exotic accent might have given it away, but English isn't my native language. Communicating in real time is a skill developed by consistency and repetition, and fluency doesn't come from memorizing every word in the dictionary. It's about training your brain to switch from one language set in another until you're thinking and speaking in that language instead of mentally translating it. Any of you that are currently learning or have already learned another language understand the difficulties. You need the driving force pushing you forward beyond those times when you feel like you are not making progress or even moving backwards. That's where today's subject, motivation, kicks on. Motivation is linked to our reward system, and our reward system is linked to our neural network. I'm going to go into the detail about the specific components of that network and how each applies, but I'll just give a brief introduction to the neural network before we zoom into the individual components. Our neural network is a construction of neurons, which are interactive nerve cells. These cells aren't tied together, but they are very, very close to each other. Since they're not directly connected, they have a special method of communicating with another called synaptic transmission. Your brain sends an instruction as an electric pulse, and your nerve cell converts that electric pulse into chemical called neurotransmitters. Those neurotransmitters are shot from the cell to other. The receiving cell passes along that message by interpreting the chemical received and converting that back into electrical pulse. Once the order has been sent, the sending synapse suck those unreceived neurotransmitters chemical back both to rouse them and to terminate the message. If it didn't, the receiving cell wouldn't know when to stop. It's a fascinating system, and you should watch my previous video that explores neuroplasticity process in detail. So, what you need to know is that these chemicals in different quantities, different combination, and different duration determine the message from one cell to another. The receiver has specialized slots to receive those chemicals, so it can process them quickly. These specialized slots are called pathways. The one that we're interested in is the mesocortical pathway. This pathway has one key function. It shuttles dopamine from the primary source to the prefrontal cortex. And this part of the brain is generally what distinguishes we people from animals. Planning, working, memory, decision, personality, social behavior, and part of the speech and language. What you're thinking is correct. You have seen dogs communicate with their little tails. They'll remember a few things. They remember exactly how their owner smells, and every dog has her own personality, for sure. But a dog's frontal lobe is about 10% of its brain versus the front third of ours. It's the reason why no dog will ever qualify for a mortgage loan or drive a stick shift. The mesocortical pathway is intimately connected to our musculoskeletal system. It's tied directly to the parts of the brain that drive us. It's what literally makes us to move physically. So, tracing it to the very root, it's no stretch to call the dopamine that drives us to act. Now that you are aware to the main source of dopamine, in the brain, let's go into details about what's motivating us and how it works. Well, start with some simple examples. We're going to call this dopamine pool. It's the main source in your brain. For simplicity's sake, we're going to make it look like a pool of the water. It's not actually water, of course. Here's the baseline on the pool. The water levels rise and lower, but right now it's steady. As you know, dopamine has a connection with the mesocortical pathway, and it stimulates us to move to get what we want. It's what makes us move our body to achieve our goal. Now, I'm feeling thirsty, let's imagine it, so I go and draw a glass of water. Maybe you want something else, so you might see a chicken leg or matcha tea, whatever you love. In my case, it's this cone-shaped glass of water. This is a representation of something you want. Again, imagine what you want. You want this, so you picture this image in your head. In response to that stimulus, dopamine rises to a peak like a wave. It causes your dopamine to surge. So, if dopamine leaves the pool after the surge, the water recedes. Makes sense. Water leaves pool level is lower. Our dopamine level lower than the baseline what we have in the beginning. This depletion between where our dopamine levels is versus where it should be causes the discomfort. And this discomfort forces us to act. So that's how our motivation works. We're not inspiring, we just want to close this gap. The line I'm drawing represents our path, in this case to the kitchen. And there you found your cone of water, chicken leg or matcha tea, whatever you want. And now that we have what we want, there is another source of dopamine. That source restores the pool to the baseline. Seems simple enough, but there is a little snack. It's one of the 3 possible outcomes to this transaction. So, result number 1. Maybe the cup is empty, the water tastes bad, it doesn't meet your expectation. Result number 2, it's exactly as you expected. It's what you wanted, it's what you got, it's what you draw in your mind. Cool. Result number 3, it's better than you expected. You expected a regular glass of water, but maybe you found your special mug or your favorite sparkling water that you forgot about. Because you got more than you expected, the peak of the dopamine surge is higher than the original. What happens is that the pool now exceeds the original baseline. The result? It feels great. There is any number of ways life exceeds your expectations. Maybe your son who has not the world's gift of mathematics bring home an A on a test. You won the lottery, somebody has to. That's one especially rare, but that's a big surge. With result number 2, the peak is the same, and we just come back to the baseline, and we're satisfied. Result number 1, it is disappointing. It's a small peak. We still have that gap. It's a little something, but it's not enough. That driving force from before is still there. You are not satisfied. You feel like you need to run down to the convenience store and get some better water. And so you go, this get amazing thing, and you'll be happy. And this system works specifically to make us move forward if we didn't find our goal, if we didn't achieve us. Dopamine satisfaction comes from satisfying the baseline. People say dopamine is a reward, but it's not. The reality is satisfaction comes from returning to the baseline. We feel pain when it's not returned to the level. Going from the point A to the point B seems simple in this illustration, but it's not a single-step action. Let's break down this journey. The journey between visualizing water and attaining water isn't a single step. There are a series of the smaller actions between those things. In order of maintaining progress, our brain breaks this big action into a series of smaller ones. When you leave the bedroom, that's a small surge of dopamine, such creates an equally small gap. That gap then adds to the original gap created by the desired image. You see your fridge, and that creates another small spike and gap. The final step should compensate not just the original gap, but all small gaps created along the way. These are the original gaps. So, that's the basic story of the dopamine journey. Here's how it pertains to entrepreneurs. Entrepreneurs actually have a more sensitive reward system. It increases vulnerability to different types of addictions that are connected to the dopamine system. For example, some people are addicted to starting the new businesses. There are so many inspirations and desires at the beginning of the business processes, like gathering a team, creating an idea for going into the rounds of investments. It's one of the reasons that entrepreneurs can be so much more open to the risk than other people. I have 2 other videos dedicated to the entrepreneurial mindset. If you haven't checked those out yet, you should. We discuss different research with the dopamine system and entrepreneurial mindset. One of the most popular requests from entrepreneurs to therapists addressing the emotional void, where an entrepreneur says, "I've achieved all my goals, I have all this money, I have this power, I have a company worth billions, and I'm not happy. I feel betrayed and cheated. My dreams didn't meet my expectation and I feel awful." Let's create our little entrepreneur. This little guy right here, he's happy because he's dreaming about his startup. And this is his little startup dream. How it exists in our head is on the left, actually is on the right. It's not just about the startup itself, but everything that comes along with it. He's dreaming that he will have a lot of money, the fancy car, fancy house. When we drew a glass of water, it was just a glass of water. Low stakes, low reward. So it caused just a small swell of dopamine. If we're talking about the dream life, the peak of the surge is higher, as is the corresponding gap. The gap in this illustration is so low that we can ever see the bottom. These are all the things that we are pictured as our dream and the result of our dream. Then we achieve those things, the surge should be enough to cover the original gap. However, during the journey, there are many dopamine moments that keep you moving forward. And typically, when an entrepreneur starts a new business, it's very difficult to count all the steps and the risk. We know knows, the no and knows, and the unknown knows. There is only so much you can realistically anticipate. You didn't know what efforts you need. You couldn't know the motivation and stimulation it would take to move forward. Remember, the trip for corn of the water was a known quantity. We knew where our fridge was and all the steps along the way. When you start something new, it's hard to know if you are moving to the right direction. Sometimes it even encourages people to lean into mystical thinking, whatever way that maintains itself. It doesn't matter if you consult the cards or the quadrants of the star, whatever makes you feel better. What I do care about is that you keep your dopamine system in a balance. When you're taking this journey between the idea of your startup and your realization, it can be several years. During this period, you can abuse your dopamine system. The sum of the defects should be equal to the achievement. It's not a direct science. This is my explanation of how it works. If you are an achiever that only looks at results, you are spending some extra dopamine. If you watched my video about enjoyment, I really recommend you to do it. Enjoyment is a secret weapon of entrepreneurs, and endorphins that you experience when you feel enjoyment stimulate the dopamine. When you are not stimulating yourself for this journey by imagining the result, or for substances, and you know what I'm talking about and how dangerous those could be, if you're focusing on the pleasure during the process, where you should be focusing on the pleasure on this journey. You have to focus on the joy of the moment. You should feel same pleasure to the journey in this path as the result. Remember it, you should feel the same pleasure of the journey as at the result, and the expectation of the result shouldn't be more than the pleasure during the journey. It's not necessarily natural. You have to train it, and the things are going to be tough along the way. But that journey lasts for years and years, and if you didn't feel joy along the way, you're unlikely to get the proper kick out the result. Maybe you worked hard to buy a car, and it felt great to own for a little while, but that extempted went away quickly. Now you understand why. A lot of people have this same effect when they order things online. I'd like to share a story about a friend of mine who created an app that integrated with a Facebook Messenger. It was very successful, the best of the best. He told the story openly on YouTube so I can share some details. The Mark Zuckerberg invited him to the breakfast, which is some kind of the tradition that is the side apps help grow his businesses. He invites the founder for the breakfast. My friend created a chatbot that used Facebook Messenger, and it was extremely helpful. More than 50% chatbots use his platforms, and he was the founder. That really impressed Zuckerberg. He'd been beating himself up to this business, running this marathon for years. He wasn't sleeping well, just stimulated by that desire for results. He was making the mistakes you'd expect. After breakfast, he went to the park not far from the place where we had the breakfast and cried because he didn't feel anything. He was disappointed. He achieved this goal but felt nothing. He didn't feel happy, didn't feel motivated. All he felt was dread that to keep this position at the top, he had to keep running very, very fast. Can you achieve your goals without abusing your dopamine system? Well, the first step is awareness. What's important is taking a full comprehensive view of your body and your health, which includes all the systems we've discussed. This is how you monitor whether or not you are handling everything appropriately and understanding the tools at your disposal to avoid abusing the dopamine system, monitoring yourself for burning and taking the right action to keep yourself and your neural system in line. There are protocols to manage this properly, and you should reach out if you have any questions about it. You don't need to attend a success course to know about the promises they sell. You're being sold the image of being a billionaire, buying your parents a house by the sea, get your children to the best college in the world. Your financial vows are over, and you finally have the power and respect you deserve. Your dopamine system is being pumped up with those enormous ambitions, and you know a fall is coming. You can't cover this hole you've created. You've spent a lot of energy, and now you're a resident of Disappointment City. Now, let's stay gotten this far. We have talked about burnout. This is the major problem in the entrepreneurial world, and it doesn't matter what level of business you are in, what career field, or what level of education you attend. Everyone has felt it. You know how awful it is? The worst thing about it is the uncertainty burnout can last a week just as easily in a lifetime. When you put down the mechanics of the dopamine process, you are left with a simple answer for a simple question. What is dopamine? Is it an incentive program? That's what it is. So you're tracking it along and you're filed some paperwork to get your business off the ground. The incentive program kicks in and you feel great. You're making progress. You get your permits approved, your brain keeps incentivization for doing a good job. Now you're 2 years into the process and paperwork just doesn't have that bite anymore. But you have that work ethic that tells you to just push through, and you do it again and again. But burnout isn't some mythical figure, it's adrenal related. Nothing's burned out, but your adrenal glands are tired of consistently processing their components. You've exhausted your reserve. At this point, if you reach your original goal, the volume of dopamine released may be so enormous that the target can cover the peak. You might feel disappointed and upset, wondering why that achievement doesn't make you happy. Well, you spend your reward system. That's what you burn out. But the fear to yourself, how we are supposed to know, depending on who you are, how you were raised, or what background is. All you've been taught in life is to work hard and never give up. So you didn't just that. Now what? You've heard this before and you're going to hear it again. Prioritize your state, functionality, health, and sleep. Dopamine is restored during sleep. Sacrificing sleep reduces the likelihood of happiness, of satisfaction from achieving your goals. And that's separate from the well-documented and established health benefits from blossom from a routine schedule of advantage sleep. Start your day with a little walk in the sun. Pick at it, safely of course, for brief intervals. Be mindful of the sun, of course. Don't overdose it. And if you have sensitive skin, take care of it. Ice bath or cold shower in the morning is a good supply of drive and vigor for your workday because of the cortisol spikes, including dopamine. While it's better for you focus instead of the dopamine control, meditation has been documented to have a positive effects on the body and mind. You can find a tons of tips on my channel or in the internet. Just Google it and you will create your personalized routine how to keep your dopamine in a good level in spite of what's going on around you. This is very, very simple, and it starts with the take care of our body and physical condition. Before I go, I want you to think about procrastination. Yes, I'll say it. It's motivation arch enemy, and we'll be addressing it. For homework, I want you to think about the funniest procrastination story and be prepared to share it next time. To put it all together, here's what I really want you to take away from this. Motivation and the occasional lack thereof are often seen as the character flaws. People are quick to tell others that they need to get motivated, but that's where the advice ends. In truth, we've been studying this stuff for a long time. We have a decent understanding on how it works. Every person is different, and there is no techniques that works for everyone, and neither does. Understanding yourself and the signs of why things work in this way give you a freedom to create your personal routine and stop blaming yourself if you are not enough motivated. Just take a pause, take care about your dopamine level, make simple things, and focus on enjoyment of what you are doing right now. And if you need some support, you know what to do. You can schedule a brief interview on the Morgan Impact page, or just write your request in the comments. We will be very attentively read it and maybe answer in the next podcast. Like this video and subscribe. I'm Marina Morgan, and I want to thank you again for being the part of the team from the start to finish. I will be here with you every week as long as you keep talking in the comments and sharing these videos. Link to all my social below. Thank you for being the best part of the Morgan Impact, and see you soon.